The small Earth ship flew through space at high speed. Inside the cockpit, Lieutenant Jake Morrison checked his instruments one more time. Everything looked normal. His mission was simple: fly around the red planet Kepler-4 to be and look for enemy ships. It was supposed to be easy work. Jake had done this job many times before. He was 26 years old and had been flying for the Earth Defense Force for 5 years. His ship was small but fast. It had good sensors and could hide from most enemy ships. Jake felt confident as he flew through the empty space around the strange red planet. The planet below him was covered in thick red clouds. No one from Earth had ever landed there. Scientists said it might have life, but they were not sure. The planet was far from Earth. In a dangerous part of space where alien ships often patrolled, Jake's radio crackled with static. He adjusted the controls and listened carefully. Nothing. Just the usual background noise from space. He relaxed in his pilot seat and looked out at the stars. This was why he loved flying, the peace and quiet of empty space. Suddenly, his warning systems began to beep loudly. Jake sat up straight and looked at his screens. 3 red dots appeared on his radar. Enemy ships. They were big and moving fast toward him. This is not good, Jake said to himself. He pushed buttons quickly, trying to hide his ship from the enemy sensors. But it was too late. The alien ships had already seen him. Green laser beams shot past his cockpit window. Jake grabbed the controls and turned his ship hard to the left. More laser beams followed him, lighting up the darkness of space like deadly fireworks. One beam hit his right wing, and sparks flew inside his cockpit. "Control. This is Morrison." Jake spoke into his radio. "I'm under attack by 3 enemy ships. Need help right now." Only static answered him. He was too far from any Earth ships to get help. Jake was alone. The enemy ships were getting closer. They were much bigger than his small scout ship. Jake knew he could not fight them and win. His only chance was to run. He pushed his engines to maximum power and dove toward the red planet below. The alien ships followed him. More laser beams hit his ship. His left engine started smoking. Warning lights flashed all over his control panel. The ship was shaking badly now. Jake fought to control his ship as it fell toward the planet. The red clouds grew bigger and bigger. In his window, he had never been so scared in his life. The ship was falling too fast. At this speed, he would crash and die. "Come on, hold together," he whispered to his ship. But more laser beams hit him. His right engine exploded in a ball of fire. Now he was really in trouble. The ship spun around and around as it fell through the red clouds. Jake could not see anything outside. The air around the planet was thick and red like blood. His ship shook harder and harder. More warning lights came on. The engines were dead. The controls were not working. Jake strapped himself tight in his seat and prepared for the crash. He sent out one last radio message. "This is Lieutenant Jake Morrison. My ship is going down on Kepler-4 to be. If anyone hears this, tell my family I tried my best." The clouds cleared, and Jake saw the ground rushing up at him. It was covered in strange purple and green plants that looked like a jungle. Rocky mountains rose up in the distance. The ship was falling toward a thick forest of alien trees. Jake pulled back on his controls with all his strength. The ship's nose came up just a little. Instead of hitting the ground straight down, the ship hit at an angle. It bounced once, twice, then crashed into the alien trees. The world went dark. When Jake woke up, his head hurt badly. Blood ran down his face. His ship was a total wreck. The front window was broken. Tree branches poked through holes in the walls. Strange purple light came through the jungle above him. Jake tried to move but cried out in pain. His left leg was trapped under a big piece of twisted metal from his ship's roof. He could not feel his foot. That was very bad. He reached for his radio, but it was smashed. His water bottles were broken. Most of his food was scattered around the broken cockpit. Jake realized he was in serious trouble. Even if he could free his leg, he was stuck on an alien planet with no way to call for help. The air inside his broken ship was getting hot. Jake could smell something burning. He looked around and saw smoke coming from the back of his ship. If there was a fire, he would die. Jake tried again to move the metal piece off his leg. It was too heavy. The pain made him dizzy. He was getting weaker from losing blood. His vision started to blur. "Help!" he called out, even though he knew no one could hear him. "Somebody help me." His voice echoed in the strange alien forest. Weird sounds came from the jungle around him. Jake had never heard sounds like that before. He wondered what kind of creatures lived in this place. Hours passed. The purple light in the sky grew dimmer. Night was coming on this alien world. Jake's radio equipment was completely broken, but he kept trying to fix it. Maybe he could send one more message. Finally, he got a weak signal. Jake spoke into the broken radio. "This is Lieutenant Jake Morrison, Earth Defense Force. I have crashed on planet Kepler 44b. I am badly hurt and trapped in my ship. If anyone receives this message, please help me. I do not want to die here." Alone, the radio died completely after that. Jake leaned back in his pilot seat and closed his eyes. He thought about his home on Earth. He thought about his sister Amy, who also flew ships for the Defense Force. He wondered if he would ever see her again. The alien jungle grew dark around him. Strange sounds got louder. Jake tried to stay awake, but he was very tired. His leg hurt so much he could barely think. He was losing a lot of blood. Just as Jake was about to give up hope, he heard a new sound. It was different from the jungle. Noises. It sounded like a ship's engines. Shh. Jake opened his eyes and listened carefully. Yes, it was definitely a ship. But was it a human ship coming to save him, or an alien ship coming to finish him off? Jake could not tell. The sound got closer and closer. Through the broken window of his cockpit, Jake saw bright lights moving through the trees. The ship was landing nearby. Heavy footsteps crunched through the alien forest, getting closer to his crashed ship. Jake held his breath and waited. In a few moments, he would find out if help had arrived or if his troubles were just beginning. The footsteps stopped right outside Jake's broken ship. He held his breath and tried to stay very still. Through the cracked window, he could see a tall shadow moving in the purple light of the alien jungle. A deep voice spoke in a language Jake had never heard before. The words sounded harsh but not angry. Jake's heart beat faster. This was definitely not a human voice. Suddenly, a large hand pulled away the broken metal from the ship's entrance. Jake saw his first alien up close. The creature was huge, almost 7 feet tall. Skin was covered in dark green scales that shined in the dim light. It had 2 arms and 2 legs like a human. But everything about it was bigger and stronger. The alien's head was the most frightening part. It had a long face with sharp teeth and bright yellow eyes that seemed to glow in the dark. 2 small horns grew from its forehead. When it breathed, Jake could see steam coming from its nose. Jake tried to reach for his weapon, but his arm was too weak. The alien saw him move and made a low sound. It stepped into the broken ship carefully, looking around at all the damage. The alien spoke again in its strange language. This time, Jake thought he heard concern in its voice, not anger. The creature moved closer and knelt down beside Jake's trapped leg. "Stay back," Jake whispered, even though he could barely speak. "Do not touch me." The alien tilted its large head and looked at Jake with curiosity. It pointed to Jake's trapped leg and then to itself. Jake realized the creature was asking if it could help. "You want to help me?" Jake asked. "Why?" The alien did not understand English, but it seemed to sense Jake's confusion. It pointed to the heavy metal piece crushing Jake's leg, then flexed its powerful arms. The message was clear. It was strong enough to lift the metal. Jake had no choice. He was going to die if he stayed trapped much longer. He nodded slowly and pointed to his leg. The alien grabbed the twisted metal with both hands. Its muscles bulged under its scaled skin. With what looked like little effort, it lifted the heavy piece and threw it aside. Jake cried out in pain as blood flowed back into his leg. The alien looked worried when Jake screamed. It reached into a pouch on its belt and pulled out a small device that looked like a silver pen. The creature held it up and made gentle sounds, as if asking permission. Jake did not know what else to do. He nodded again. The alien pointed the device at Jake's leg and pressed a button. A soft blue light came out and covered Jake's wounds. The pain started to go away immediately. "What is that thing?" Jake whispered in amazement. The blue light was healing his cuts and stopping the bleeding. In just a few minutes, his leg felt much better. The alien put the healing device away and looked around the broken ship. It saw Jake's smashed radio and water bottles. The creature shook its large head sadly, as if it understood that Jake was in serious trouble. The alien stood up and walked to the ship's entrance. It looked back at Jake and gestured for him to follow. Jake understood the alien wanted him to come with it. "I do not know," Jake said, even though the alien could not understand him. "How do I know you will not hurt me?" The alien seemed to sense Jake's fear. It slowly removed its weapon from its belt and placed it on the ground. Then it stepped back and held up its empty hands. The message was clear. It meant no harm. Jake tried to stand up. His leg was much better thanks to the alien healing device, but he was still very weak. The alien quickly moved forward and helped him stand. Its hands were rough and warm, but gentle. Together, they walked slowly through the alien jungle. Jake leaned on the tall creature for support. Strange plants and trees surrounded them. The air smelled like flowers mixed with something metallic. Weird sounds came from all directions. After walking for 10 minutes, they reached a clearing where a large alien ship waited. It was sleek and silver, much more advanced than Jake's small Earth ship. Lights blinked along its sides, and steam came from its engines. The alien helped Jake climb aboard. Inside, the ship was amazing. The walls glowed with soft light, strange. Symbols covered control panels that looked nothing like human technology. Everything was built for someone much larger than a human. The alien guided Jake to a small room with a bed. The creature pointed to the bed and then to Jake. Jake understood this was where he would rest. The bed was too big for him, but it was soft and clean. The alien left Jake alone for a few minutes. When it came back, it brought food and water. The food looked strange. It was purple and smelled like fruit. The water was clear, but tasted different from earth water. Jake was so hungry and thirsty that he did not care. While Jake ate, the alien sat across from him and watched. Its yellow eyes seemed intelligent and curious. Jake got the feeling this creature had never seen a human before. "My name is Jake," Jake said, pointing to himself. "Jake Morrison." The alien pointed to itself and said something that sounded like Zexa. Jake tried to repeat it, but the alien sounds were difficult for him to make. "HFY," Jake said slowly. The alien nodded and made a sound that Jake thought might be laughter. Over the next few hours, they tried to communicate.
Ow.
Jake pointed to objects and said their English names. HFY repeated the words in his deep voice, though his pronunciation was strange. Then HFY would say the alien word, and Jake would try to copy it. Jake learned that HFY was some kind of military officer. His ship was on patrol, just like Jake had been. When HFY found Jake's crashed ship, he decided to help instead, following his orders to capture or kill any humans he found. "Why did you save me?" Jake asked, even though he knew HFY could not understand all the words. HFY was quiet for a long time. Then he showed Jake a small picture he carried, showed other aliens like him, but they looked hurt and sad. Jake realized these were probably Zex's friends who had died in the war. Zex's pointed to the picture. Then to Jake. He made gestures that Jake interpreted as meaning that the war had caused enough death. Maybe HFY was tired of fighting and killing. That night, Jake slept better than he had in weeks. The alien bed was comfortable, and for the first time since his crash, he felt safe. HFY had posted himself outside Jake's room like a guard. When Jake woke up, he found Zexa sitting at the ship's controls, looking at star maps. The alien turned when Jake entered and offered him more of the purple fruit. "Where are we going?" Jake asked. HFY pointed to the star map and then to Jake. He was asking Jake where he wanted to go. Jake realized that Zexa was giving him a choice. He could return Jake to human space, or Jake could stay and help him. Jake looked at the star map. He could see Earth's location marked with symbols. It would be easy for HFY to take him home. But something made Jake hesitate. During the war, both sides had painted the enemy as monsters. But HFY had shown Jake's kindness and mercy. Maybe there was another way to end this conflict besides fighting. "I want to stay with you," Jake said, pointing to himself and then to HFY. "We can help each other." Guzasai's yellow eyes widened. In surprise, then he nodded slowly and extended his large-scaled hand. Jake shook it, and a bond was formed between two warriors from different worlds. Over the next few weeks, Jake and HFY learned to work together. They developed their own way of talking using hand signals, simple words, and drawings. Jake was surprised at how quickly HFY learned English words. The alien was very smart. HFY showed Jake how his ship worked. The technology was far ahead of anything humans had built. Engines were silent and could travel much faster than Earth ships. The weapons were powerful, but precise. Jake realized why the aliens had been winning. The war. "Your people are losing this fight," HFY said one day in his broken English. He had learned enough words to have basic conversations with Jake. "I know," Jake replied. "Your ships are better. Your weapons are stronger. But humans do not give up easily." HFY nodded. "That is why war continues. Both sides too stubborn to stop." Jake learned that HFY's real name was Commander HFY of the Valorian Empire. He was in charge of a whole group of alien warships. But he had told his officers he was doing secret reconnaissance work. That was why he could keep Jake hidden. "On his ship, my people think I am looking for human weaknesses," HFY explained. "They do not know I have human friend." This gave Jake an idea. What if we really did look for weaknesses, but not to attack, to find ways to stop the fighting? Thought about this for a long time. "You want to end war?" "Yes," Jake said. "Too many people are dying on both sides. There has to be a better way." They began working together in secret. Jake told HFY about human military tactics and ship designs. In return, HFY shared information about Valorian battle plans and technology. Neither one was betraying their people. Instead, they were looking for ways to prevent unnecessary deaths. Their first success came when HFY learned about a planned attack on a human colony world called New Texas. The Valorian fleet was going to destroy 3 cities full of innocent people. "We have to warn them," Jake said, when HFY told him about the plan. "How?" HFY asked. "If I contact human fleet, they will think it is trap. If you contact them, they will ask how you are still alive." Jake had an idea. Sister Amy worked as a communications officer on a human battleship. She was smart and would listen to him. Jake used HFY's advanced radio equipment to send a coded message that only Amy would understand. The message was simple. "Big sister, remember the song you sang when I was scared of thunderstorms? 3 storms are coming to the new ranch on Tuesday. Little brother still loves you." Amy understood immediately. New Texas was sometimes called the New Ranch by people from Earth. The 3 storms meant 3 attack groups.
Oh.
Tuesday was the day of the planned attack. The human fleet moved their ships to protect New Texas just in time. When the Valorian attack force arrived, they found the colony heavily defended. Instead of a massacre, there was only a small battle. Many lives were saved on both sides. HFY was pleased but also worried. "My commanders will ask questions. They will wonder how humans knew about attack." "Tell them the humans have spies," Jake suggested. "That is probably what they will think anyway." Over the following months, Jake and HFY prevented 2 more attacks. Each time, they found ways to warn the targets without revealing their partnership. They saved thousands of human lives and prevented Valorian ships from being destroyed in hopeless battles. But their activities did not go unnoticed. HFY's second-in-command, an alien named Krelver, became suspicious. Krelver was younger than HFY and very ambitious. He wanted HFY's job as commander. "Commander HFY spends much time alone," Krelver told other officers. "His reconnaissance missions are very long, maybe too long." Krelver began watching HFY carefully. He noticed that his commander always returned from missions looking tired and worried. Sometimes HFY would stare at the stars for hours, as if thinking about difficult problems. One day, Krelver decided to follow HFY's ship in secret. He used a small, fast scout ship and stayed far enough away to avoid detection. Watched as Zex's ship traveled to the edge of Valorian space and stopped near an empty asteroid field. Krelver could not see what Zex's was doing, but the commander's ship stayed in the same place for many hours. When Zexi finally left, Krelver searched the area. He found traces of human radio signals in space. Someone had been transmitting from Zex's ship. Meanwhile, Jake and Zexus continued their secret work. They had become close friends despite their different backgrounds. Jake learned about Valorian culture and history. Zexi was fascinated by human stories and customs. "Your people write songs about war," Zexi observed one day, "but also songs about peace and love. Valorians only have war songs." "Maybe that is part of the problem," Jake said. "If you only sing about fighting, you forget there are other ways to solve problems." Their friendship was tested when they received word of a major battle near the Proxima system. A human fleet had been destroyed, and many Valorian ships were also lost.
Ow.
Both Jake and Zexa had friends who died in that battle. "My squadron leader was killed," Zexa said sadly. "He was like father to me. He taught me everything about being commander." Jake put his hand on Zexa's shoulder. "I am sorry. War takes the best people first." "Your people killed him," Zexai said, but there was no anger in his voice, only sadness. "And your people killed my friends too," Jake replied. "But we are still here. We can still try to stop this madness." That night, both of them were quiet and sad, but their friendship survived. They realized that the war was hurting everyone, alien and human alike. Their next mission almost exposed them completely. Intelligence reports showed that a Valorian dreadnought was being prepared for a massive attack on Earth's moon base. The weapon was so powerful it could destroy the entire moon. "We have to stop this," Jake said when Zexi told him about the dreadnought. "Too dangerous," Zexi replied. "Ship is heavily guarded. If we are caught, both our peoples will think we are traitors. And we better not get caught," Jake said with a grin. They developed a risky plan. Zexi would request permission to inspect the dreadnought as part of his commander duties. Jake would hide in a maintenance compartment of Zex's ship. Once aboard the dreadnought, Jake would sabotage the main weapon while Zexi distracted the crew. The plan worked perfectly at first. Zexi's ship was allowed to dock with the massive dreadnought. Jake hid in a supply crate and was carried aboard. With other equipment, slipped away when no one was looking, and made his way to the weapon control room. But as Jake worked to disable the weapon, alarms began ringing throughout the ship. Someone had discovered his presence. Valorian soldiers were searching everywhere for the human intruder. Jake finished his sabotage work just as armed aliens burst into the control room. He was trapped with no way to escape. The soldiers raised their weapons to shoot him. Suddenly, Zexi appeared behind the soldiers. "Stop," he commanded. "This human is my prisoner. I am interrogating him personally." Soldiers were confused but obeyed their commander. Zexi grabbed Jake roughly and pretended to be angry with him. "You will pay for sneaking aboard our ship, human scum," he said loudly for the soldiers to hear as they walked through the corridors. Zexi whispered to Jake, "Play along. Act like prisoner." They made it back to Zexi's ship safely. But Jake knew their secret was almost discovered. Krelver had been watching everything, and his suspicions were growing stronger. "We are running out of time," Jake told Zexi as they flew away from the dreadnought. "Soon your people will figure out what we are doing." "I know," Zexi replied, "but we cannot stop now. Too many lives depend on us." They had become more than allies in their fight to end the war. They had become brothers, willing to risk everything for each other and for peace. Krelver had seen enough. After watching Zex's strange behavior for weeks, he finally had proof that his commander was working with the enemy. He had recorded Jake's voice during the dreadnought incident and captured images of the human aboard. Their ship late one night, Krelver sent an encrypted message to the Valorian High Command. The message contained all his evidence against Zexi, including photos of Jake and recordings of their conversations. He accused his commander of treason and helping the humans win battles. The response came quickly. Admiral Corvan, the Supreme, leader of the Valorian fleet, was furious. He ordered an immediate arrest of both Zexi and the human spy. A squadron of warships was dispatched to capture them. Zexi's Received the warning message from a loyal friend in the Valorian command. Structure. The friend risked his own life to send the coded transmission. The hunters are coming. Run now or die. We'll have to leave immediately, Zexai told Jake as alarms began sounding on their ship. Krelver has betrayed us to the High Command. Jake looked at the scanner screen and saw 6 Valorian warships approaching fast. They were completely surrounded with no chance of escape through normal space. Can we fight them? Jake asked. No, Zexai said grimly. 6 ships against 1. You would be destroyed in minutes. Zexai pushed the engines to maximum power and dove toward a nearby nebula. The colorful gas clouds would hide them from enemy sensors, but only for a short time. Pursuing ships would find them eventually. Inside the nebula, Zexai's ship drifted silently among the swirling gases. Both friends knew they were probably going to die, but neither wanted to give up. I'm sorry I got you into this, Zexai said quietly. You saved my life, Jake replied. I chose to help you. No one forced me. As they hid in the nebula, Jake intercepted a communication between the Valorian ships. What he heard made his blood turn cold. They're talking about something called the World Killer, Jake told Zexai. Do you know what that is? Zexai's yellow eyes grew wide with fear. The ultimate weapon. My people have been building it in secret for 2 years. It can destroy entire planets. Where is it? Jake asked. Urgently, hidden in the Omega asteroid field, near your solar system, if they use it. Haas. Voice trailed off. Jake understood. The World Killer was aimed at Earth. If the Valorian High Command decided to use it, his home planet and everyone he loved would be destroyed. We have to stop them, Jake said. Impossible, Zexai replied. The weapon is protected by automated defenses. Even if we could get past the Valorian fleet hunting us, we could never get close enough. But Jake was already studying the star charts. The Omega asteroid field was only 2 days away at maximum speed. If they left now, they might be able to reach the weapon before it was fired. Look at this. Jake pointed to the star map. The weapon is in the asteroid field, right? That means it has to be hidden inside a big asteroid. The defenses will be strong on the outside, but maybe weaker on the inside. Sexy understood what Jake was thinking. You want to get inside the asteroid and sabotage the weapon from within? Yes, Jake said. It is the only way. That would be suicide, Sexai warned. The weapon's power core is highly unstable. Anyone who tries to disable it manually would be killed in the explosion. Jake was quiet for a moment. Then he looked at his alien friend. How many people live on Earth? Your intelligence reports say 8 billion humans, Xi answered. 8 billion lives, Jake repeated. That is worth the risk. They broke out of the nebula and set course for the Omega asteroid field. The Valorian pursuit ships immediately, detected them, and gave chase. A running battle began as they raced through space. Shex was an excellent pilot. But the enemy ships were faster and had more powerful weapons. Laser beams struck their hull repeatedly. The ship's shields were failing, and several systems were damaged. We are not going to make it, Zexai said as another blast shook their ship. Jake had an idea. What if we split up? You take one of the escape pods and lead them away from the asteroid field. I will take the ship and complete the mission alone. No, Zexai said firmly. We stay together. If we die as friends. Their ship limped into the asteroid field with the enemy close behind. The massive rocks provided some cover, but the Valorian ships were closing in fast. Soon they would be caught and destroyed. Then Jake saw it on the scanner, a huge asteroid that looked different from the others. It was perfectly round and had metal structures on its surface. This had to be the World Killer. There it is, Jake pointed to the screen. As they approached the weapon asteroid, automated defense systems came online. Laser turrets and missile launchers emerged from hidden compartments. The asteroid was heavily armed. The defenses are too strong, Zexai said as energy beams barely missed their ship. We cannot get through. But Jake noticed something. Look at the bottom of the asteroid. There is a small docking port. It must be for maintenance ships. Zexai maneuvered their damaged ship toward the small opening. It was barely big enough for their ship to fit through. Enemy fire from the pursuing ships struck the asteroid's shields, but could not penetrate them. They managed to dock at the maintenance port just as their ship's engines finally gave out. The Valorian pursuit ships surrounded the asteroid, but could not attack without risking damage to their own ultimate weapon. Inside the asteroid, Jake and Zexai found themselves in a massive hollow space. The world killer weapon filled the entire center of the asteroid. It was huge, bigger than any ship Jake had ever seen. Energy crackled around its surface, and the air hummed with power. "How do we shut it down?" Jake asked. Zexa studied the weapon carefully. "The control center is at the top, but the power core is at the bottom. Someone has to manually override the safety systems to cause an overload." They climbed through the asteroid's maintenance tunnels toward the weapon's control room. Along the way, they encountered more automated defenses, robot guardians that tried to stop them. Zexai used his military training to fight past the robots, but he was wounded several times. By the time they reached the control center green, blood was flowing from cuts on his arms and chest. In the control room, they found banks of computers and monitors showing the weapon's status. According to the displays, the world killer was nearly ready to fire. It would be aimed at Earth in less than 1 hour. "I can disable the targeting system from here," Zexai said, working at the controls. "But someone still has to go down too. The power core and cause an overload. That person will not survive." Jake started toward the door leading to the power core, but Zexai grabbed his arm. "No, my friend. This is my weapon. My people built it. I should be the one to destroy it." "Both go," Jake said. "Together, like everything else we have done." They climbed down through the weapon's interior toward the massive power core. The energy levels were incredible. Air itself seemed to burn with electricity. Both friends knew that once the overload began, they would have only minutes to escape. But as they reached the power core chamber, more robot guardians attacked. These were bigger and stronger than the others. Xai fought them off while Jake worked at the power core controls. A robot's energy beam struck Xai in the chest. He fell to the ground, badly wounded. Green blood pooled around him as he struggled. "To breathe, Zexa," Jake cried, kneeling beside his friend. "Finish the job," Zexa whispered. "I will hold them off." With his last strength, Zexa grabbed his weapon and fired at the approaching robots. His shots were true, destroying several of the mechanical guardians and buying Jake precious time. Jake turned to the power core controls. The alien writing was difficult to understand, but Zexai had taught him some of the symbols. His hands shook as he worked to override the safety systems. "How do I do this?" Jake asked desperately. Zexai crawled over to him, leaving a trail of blood. With failing strength, he placed his scaled hand over Jake's human hand. Together, they pressed the final sequence of buttons. The power core began to overload. Alarms rang throughout the asteroid. The world killer weapon started to shake and spark as energy levels climbed beyond safe limits. "We did it," Zexai whispered with a weak smile. "Earth is safe." Then his yellow eyes closed and he was still. Jake held his friend's lifeless body as the asteroid shook around them. The power core was overloading faster than expected. Sparks flew from the walls, and the floor beneath them was getting hot. He had only minutes to escape before the whole weapon exploded. Tears ran down Jake's face as he gently closed Zex's yellow eyes. His alien friend had given everything to save Earth and its people. Jake carefully took Zex's personal communicator from his belt. It contained all their shared memories and conversations over the past months. "I will not let them forget what you did," Jake whispered to his dead friend. The asteroid was coming apart around him. Jake ran through the collapsing tunnels toward their ship. Robot guardians tried to stop him, but most of their systems were failing because of the power overload. He made it to the docking port just as a massive explosion rocked the asteroid. Their ship was badly damaged, but the engine still worked. Jake launched into space just as the world killer weapon reached critical overload. Behind him, the entire asteroid disappeared in a ball of white light. The explosion was so bright it could be seen from several star systems away. The Valorian ships that had been chasing them were caught in the blast. Some were destroyed instantly. Others were thrown through space like toys. Jake's small ship was pushed by the explosion's shockwave, but he managed to keep control. When the light faded, the ultimate weapon was gone. Earth was safe. But Jake felt no joy, only sadness for his lost friend. Jake set course for human space, but his ship was barely flying. The engines were failing, and life support was running low. He sent out a distress signal and hoped someone would find him before his air ran out. 3 days later, a human patrol ship detected his signal. Captain Lisa Stone commanded the rescue ship. She was amazed to find Jake alive after so many months of being listed as missing in action. "Morrison," Captain Stone said as they brought Jake aboard, "we thought you were dead. Where have you been all this time?" Jake was exhausted and still grieving for Zexy. "It is a long story, Captain, but first I need to contact my sister Amy. I have important information about the war." When Amy Morrison heard her brother's voice on the radio, she started crying. With joy, she had never stopped hoping he was alive, even when everyone else said he must be dead. "Jake, where have you been?" Amy asked through her tears. "I was rescued by someone special," Jake said quietly. "Someone who became my friend and saved all our lives. I will explain everything when I see you." Jake was taken to Earth's military headquarters for debriefing. At first, the officers did not believe his story about being rescued by an alien commander. It sounded impossible that a Valorian would help a human, but Jake had proof. Zexa's communicator contained detailed recordings of their conversations and information about Valorian military plans. The intelligence was so valuable that Earth's commanders realized Jake was telling the truth. "This alien really helped you stop attacks on our colonies?" General Roberts asked in amazement. "His name was Zexai," Jake said firmly. Saved thousands of lives on both sides. He died destroying the weapon that would have killed everyone on Earth." Jake shared everything Zexai had taught him about Valorian culture and technology. But more importantly, he told them about his friends. Dream of ending the war peacefully. "Zexai believed that both our peoples were tired of fighting," Jake explained. "He thought there had to be a better way than endless killing." Meanwhile, news of the World Killer's destruction had reached the Valorian Empire. Admiral Corvan was furious that their ultimate weapon had been destroyed. But he was also worried. If humans could penetrate their most secure facility, nowhere was safe. The Valorian High Command began investigating what had happened. They found evidence that Commander Zexai had been working with a human spy. First, they wanted to declare Zexai a traitor and erase his name from their history, but other Valorian officers who had served with Zexai spoke up for him. They remembered him as an honorable commander who had saved many Valorian lives during the war. Slowly a different picture emerged. General Thacker, an old friend of Zexus, made a speech to the Valorian Council. "Zexai was not a traitor," he said. "He was trying to save both our peoples from destruction. We should listen to what he was trying to tell us." On Earth, Jake was promoted to captain and given a medal for his service. But he did not feel like celebrating. Every night, he talked to Zex's communicator as if his friend could still hear him. "I wish you were here to see this," Jake would say. "People are starting to listen to your ideas about peace." 6 months after the World Killer's destruction, something unexpected happened. A Valorian diplomatic ship appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system. It was flying a white flag of truce. The Valorian ship carried an ambassador named General Thacker. He requested permission to meet with Earth's leaders to discuss ending the war. It was the first time anyone from either side had suggested peace talks. Jake was chosen to be part of Earth's negotiation team because of his unique experience with Valorian culture. When he met General Thacker, the old Valorian soldier looked at him with great respect. "You're the human who is friend to Commander Zexai," Thacker said in careful English. "Yes," Jake replied. "He was the best person I ever knew, human or alien. Zexa saved my son's life during the Battle of Kepler Station," Thacker said. "He was good commander and good person. His death was great loss. The peace negotiations were difficult. Both sides had been fighting for so long that trust was hard to build. Many humans wanted revenge for all the people who had died. Many Valorians thought humans were too dangerous to live in peace with. But Jake and General Thacker worked together to find common ground. They shared stories about Zexai and how he had brought enemies together. Slowly, other negotiators began to see that peace was possible. The talks took almost a year. There were many arguments and several times when the negotiations almost failed. But whenever progress stalled, Jake would tell the story of his friendship with Zexai. He reminded everyone that one alien and one human had proven that cooperation was better than conflict. Finally, the Treaty of New Hope was signed. The war between humans and Valorians officially ended. Both sides agreed to stop fighting and start working together to solve their problems peacefully. Jake was present at the signing ceremony. As he watched human and Valorian leaders shake hands, he held Zex's communicator close to his heart. "We did it, my friend," he whispered. "We actually did it." 1 year later, Jake became Earth's first ambassador to the Valorian Empire. His job was to build friendship and understanding between the two species. It was exactly what Zexai would have wanted. Jake's first assignment was to visit Zex's home planet of Valkyr Prime. He was nervous about meeting Zex's family, but he knew it was important. Zex's father, Elder Korshin, welcomed Jake into their home. The old Valorian's scales were silver with age, but his yellow eyes were kind like his son's had been. "My son spoke of you in his final messages," Korshin said. "He called you his brother from the stars." Jake met Zex's mother, his sister, and his young nephew. They all treated Jake like family, grateful that he had been with Zexai during his final days. Zexai always believed that different peoples could live together in peace. His sister, Valani, said,
"Ow."
"You helped him prove that was true." At the ceremony to honor Zex's memory, Jake gave a speech to thousands of Valorians. He spoke about his friend's courage and sacrifice. He told them how one alien's kindness had changed the course of history. "Commander Zexa saved my life when he could have killed me," Jake said. "He chose friendship over fear, hope over hatred. Because of him, our children will grow up in a universe where humans and Valorians work together instead of fighting each other." After the ceremony, Jake placed a small Earth flag next to Zexai's memorial stone. The flag would stay there forever, a symbol of the bond between two friends from different worlds. That night, Jake sat under Valkyr Prime's 2 moons and talked to Zex's communicator one more time. "I kept my promise," he said quietly. "No one will ever forget what you did. Your name will be remembered forever as the one who brought peace to the stars." Years passed, and Jake continued his work as ambassador. He helped establish trade agreements, cultural exchanges, and joint scientific projects between humans and Valorians. The friendship between the two species grew stronger each year. Jake never married or had children of his own. Instead, he dedicated his life to honoring Zex's memory and building the peaceful future they had both dreamed of. When Jake was old and gray, he wrote a book about his friendship with Zex's. The book became popular on both Earth and Valkyr Prime. Children of both species learned about the alien commander and the human pilot who proved that love was stronger than war. On Jake's last day as ambassador, he returned to the memorial where Zexai was honored. The Earth flag he had placed there decades ago was still flying proudly next to the Valorian symbols. "Thank you, my friend," Jake said, touching the memorial stone. "Thank you for showing me that even enemies can become brothers." The bond between Jake Morrison and Commander Zexai had indeed lasted forever, inspiring generations to choose peace over war and friendship over fear.